Okay, so I was listening to a lot of the feedback that I got on the last video, and thank you guys so much, by the way, for giving me the advice to go with this URMOSI throttle. So I installed it, and I really like the way this thing sits. Obviously, just to point out for guys that don't know, for the Raptor, they recommend this adapter over here, which they also sell on their website, because at first I bought it and I didn't install the adapter, and it was really, there was too much play, and this kind of lets you adjust the play. However, even this adapter is too long. I needed to file it down and to get it to a kind of a sweet spot where I don't have too much play, but I have a little bit of play. And yeah, this throttle is really nice. Like the way you can just change the sensitivity basically of the throttle is really, really cool. And how quickly, and when on the videos, when watching the videos, I thought that how can you change the throttle sensitivity so quickly? I thought this piece would be very sensitive or brittle, but it's not. It's really solid, and it's not as easy. I was worried about changing it while driving, and it's not as easy to change while you're driving, so it's not that bad. And it's really, really nice, very, very comfortable too. I took it for a quick spin. Initially, when I first installed it, the RPM was too high because the adapter basically had it in a way where it was like engaging 20% or 15% throttle, so the RPM was too high. So I had to file this down to get it to a point where this is good enough. But yeah, it's super, super cool mechanism, and I like it. You can get them in red, blue, or black for the threaded ones, and there's the extra gold and some other colors for like Honda application and stuff. But for Yamaha Raptor, you get them in 3 options: blue, red, or black. I went for blue to match the ASV levers. So yeah, I'm gonna take this thing out in a bit, and that's when I'm gonna really find out how good this works. All in all, this thing so far has been a monster. I really like the idea of just like slowly upgrading it, even things that don't really matter, like for example this gear lever over here. I just did that for looks, but they're really cool. Like it folds away in case it hits something, or doesn't really twist. But that I didn't really get that for anything except just like an upgraded look. So yeah, playing with the suspension of this thing really is like, I remember one guy telling me that like suspension tuning is an art. It really is, because there's no right or wrong setting, especially when you're not like on a track where everybody kind of gives you feedback. Because on one track you have like 100 people, let's say, driving and riding on that track, and they can all help each other out. They can be like, no, this doesn't work for me, and you can kind of go with the average, especially if they're all running the same bike, more or less the same setup. They can give you feedback. But once you're on like random trails, you really just have to not be afraid to mess with it, and to get it to a kind of sweet spot where you like it, where you're comfortable with it. But then again, you have to keep messing with it, because you don't know if that sweet spot can get any better. But if you're comfortable with it, don't change it, because you can be happy, then you can go for a different setting, and then it can be uncomfortable. But the beauty of adjustability is that if you go from one setting to the other where you're not happy, you can go back. It's just, you need to be quite good at remembering where the initial setting, where the previous setting was. Like, I know some people that even write it down. But yeah, a lot of people have been asking me also about the exhaust. They've been asking me how good it is, because man, you have endless exhaust options on the market. Like, it's crazy, really, and they're all good. Like, I can't say anything bad about them, but the one that I have the most experience with so far is the HMF competition pipe. I love this thing because I really love the fact that it's basically like having 3 exhausts in one, because you get, like, I'm using the competition tip, which is the least restrictive and the one that gives the most power, and the one that's actually recommended with the fuel optimizer. And I really like it. And if you guys live in like congested areas where you can still ride, but you need to be more cautious with the sound, then you can just switch the tips out, as I said before. But yeah, really loving this bike. Really loving this bike. I do admit it's great from factory, and I love the way it is from factory. It did everything, maybe, I mean, not as good as now, but just pretty good for out the door, like an out the door bike. And so far, I want to say the best upgrades that I did on this thing are the width of the rear and the width of the front. I really can feel it. Like I always can feel it. I drove some stock Raptors recently, like just a little bit, and that's when I really got to compare. I'm like, wow, like mine would be able to go through this corner so much faster without worrying about pulling 3 wheels and 2 wheels, and this one just does the job. Also because I adjusted the suspension, I think I went a lot stiffer than stock, mainly so I can be more stable at high speed. It does compromise comfort on the trails though. The trails are a bit rough on this one, but also again, the width makes it a bit more comfortable on the trails, even with stiffer suspension. So it's like a interesting balance. And yeah, another question that I'm answering is, I was asked, does it make a difference if you just widen the front or widen the rear? Like some people tell me they want to get the A-arms and widen the Raptor from the front and leave the stock axle on the rear, or put spacers on the rear. I'm not a big fan of that, because if you put spacers on the rear and you want to ride aggressively, you can twist the axle. It's not really, these bikes are not really designed to hold spacers. I would just, instead of spending money on spacers, I would just maybe spend a little bit extra and get a wider axle and install it. And it's not too complicated, but if you have the right tools, you can do it yourself. Yeah, so I wouldn't do one or the other. Like it's the same if you go wide on the rear and keep it narrow in the front. Of course it makes a difference, just like a car. If you mess with the setup in one area and leave the other area stock, it makes a difference in driving, it makes a difference in comfort, everything. So yeah, what else? What other questions was I asked? Oh, I was asked, for those that don't know, I was asked what filter I was running, and I am running the K&N. I'm not running the FCI filter. A lot of people ask me and they think it's running FCI. No, it's running K&N on this one. I don't want to remove the box. I love the air box. It protects the intake from all dust and debris, so I'm going to keep the plastic box underneath the Raptor, which is, you can see it from here, right here. Plus I love this thing, which lets you know basically when it's time to clean and when it's time to like completely remove the filter and do like a, well, service, like with the filter cleaner and oil as well. Yeah. So yeah, what else? One thing that might be worth it in the future though, but not so much now, because again, it's really hard since COVID came to find an actual motocross track that's open, well, 6 days a week. It's just crazy. You call them, they're open one day and then one day they're reserved for practice and things like that. So again, back to what I was going to say, it might be worth it in the future is if like the only thing I see left on this bike to do is to change the front suspension to go to the Fox suspension, the Fox Racing suspension, because these are the original KYB for the Raptor SE. But I really have to be honest, they are amazing for stock shocks. They can jump amazing, they can handle trails amazing, the adjustability is endless. Like I'm nowhere near the full capability of these. It's like high speed compression, low speed compression, from here and from here, and you have the preload as well. So, and every little click on this matters and makes a difference. So I don't know how much better I would do with the Fox. Again, I can't say because I've not tried them yet, but I don't see it as a necessary upgrade right now. I'd rather work on things like the exhaust, intake, levers, things like that, things that I will be really paying attention to the whole time. If this was a stock Raptor suspension where you can only go with preload, 100% it would already have the Fox shocks. But since these come with the 700R and the 700R SE, I don't see the value in it. That's basically the most recent update, is the URMOSI throttle, and it's really nice, I have to say. Very nice. So easy to change, like the sensitivity. I just very happy with it. I must say, I wish that the fit came directly hassle-free from the factory, because I did have to mess with it to get it to fit properly, with the in terms of not fitment on the handlebar, but fitment of the throttle cable with the play, because like I said, without the adapter there is too much play, and with the adapter there is no play at all, and it's engaging throttle. So you have to, at least in my case, I had to file the adapter. I had to file it, and it took a long time to file it manually. It's really, that was the most annoying thing. But then once I got this there, it's better now. It has play, but not too much play. So yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed it, and hope some of the information that I said was pretty useful. It's mostly basic stuff, I know, and most of you guys probably already know this, but for those that don't, I hope that the information I gave was pretty useful. So yeah, till next time, guys.